Check. Welcome back, metal theorists. You are watching episode 4 of Metal Theory, and today we're going to dive into the wonderful world of chords. I highly recommend going back and watching the first 3 episodes if you haven't already, as I've already discussed how to build every single major scale and talked about scale degrees, which are going to be essential for today's lesson. I'd like you to note that this lesson is going to be covering solely tertiary harmony, which is when your root position chords are built by stacking intervals of generic thirds. Mostly because you're not going to listen to heavy metal and run into the chordal and quintal harmony found in Studio Ghibli movies and the Breath of the Wild soundtrack. Chords come in 3 main variants of complexity: 3-note triads used in pop music, classical, and everything in between. 4-note 7th chords, famously used in jazz, along with progressive genres like math rock and prog metal. Then we've got extended and altered chords. These will make any piece of music sound extra zesty and colorful. Each of these variants have a few different types of chords, each having its own unique tone color. Starting with 3-note chords, we have major, minor, diminished, augmented, and suspended triads. These are commonly associated with happiness, sadness, uneasiness, mysteriousness, and emptiness, respectively. The easiest way to build a chord is by using the scale degrees of your root note. Major triads are created with the root, the natural third, and the natural fifth. So a C major triad would be C, E, and G. Minor triads use the root, flat 3, and natural 5, meaning an A minor triad contains the notes A, C, and E. Diminished triads use the root, flat 3rd, and flat 5, while augmented triads contain the root, 3rd, and sharp 5. Lastly, the suspended triads are broken into sus2 and sus4 chords, meaning the 3rd scale degree is replaced with either the 2nd or the 4th scale degree. So sus2 would be the 1st, 2nd, and 5th, and sus4 would be the 1st, 4th, and 5th. The best part about chords is that their notes don't have to stay in these orders. An E minor triad is made up of E, G, and B, but you can voice it as E, B, G without changing the feeling. You can even move the root note around, creating G, E, B, G, B, E, B, E, G, or B, G, E. Moving the root is called inverting the chord. This can slightly change the chord's feel, but in this example, they are all E minor triads. If you haven't already noticed, major triads have no symbol after the root note. Minor triads have a lowercase m. Diminished triads have a superscript circle. Augmented triads have a plus, and suspended triads are followed by either a sus2 or a sus4. With that in mind, let's look at how modern metal and alternative music uses triads. Alright, let's turn up the complexity a bit and look at 7th chords. As we've already seen, triads are all based off of a root, 3rd, and 5th, while 7th chords take that same base and add the 7th scale degree as well. This creates a few additional chord types as we now have more interval combinations between notes. This additional scale degree gives us access to major 7, minor 7, dominant, half diminished, fully diminished, augmented 7, and minor major chords. Take a look at the scale degrees used to create 7th chords. Major 7th chords are just major triads with the natural 7th scale degree added. Minor 7ths are minor triads with the flat 7th scale degree, and so on. It's also important to note that these chord types can serve important harmonic purpose in music, but we're going to get in much further detail on that in a future video. Now let's see these 7th chords in action.
Damaged pride and fall apart. All my fears are open now.
Lastly, we have extended chords. Extended chords basically cover any chord that uses the 2nd, 4th, and 6th scale degrees on top of a triad or 7th chord. In this case, the 2nd is referred to as a 9th, the 4th is an 11th, and the 6th is a 13th, as we are stacking intervals in thirds, continuing past the root 3rd, 5th, and 7th of 7th chords. There are too many extended chords to talk about them all, but the biggest thing to mention is that if you have a C major 9 chord, it means you're using a C major 7 and adding the 2nd scale degree. If you have a C add 9, you're using a C major triad and adding the 2nd scale degree. Anytime you don't have an add before your extension, it is implied you're using every extension before your listed extension. If you have an A minor 11, you are using the root, flat 3, 5, flat 7, 9, and 11th. But an A minor 7 add 11 does not use the 9. And A minor add 11 does not use the 9 or the flat 7. It's also important to note that the extensions can be raised or lowered. For example, F major sharp 11 uses the root 3rd, 5th, 7th, 9th, and sharp 11. And now for the fun part. Let's hunt some extended chords down in metal music. Alright, that about wraps up this episode. Hopefully you walk away from this one with a solid understanding of the different chords that are out there and how to build them. As this journey continues, we are going to look into how these chords interact with each other and how they are used in functional harmony. Until next time, this has been Metal Theory.